Should the Alberta government take greater control over immigration? That is at the core of 5 referendum questions on the topic that will be put to Albertans in October. Most of them will ask Albertans what they think about limiting access to provincially funded programs such as healthcare and education based on someone's immigration status. Joining us now with reaction is Michael Green. He's a senior partner in Sherritt Greene Immigration Law here in Calgary. So we talked to you on the show about the potential for a referendum question on immigration late last year. Now it is official. What stands out to you about what the province is proposing here?
Well, there are no surprises there. She's designed the questions so that they're going to get yes answers. Framing constitutional questions like this or referendum questions is a real art, and the Supreme Court has weighed in on it and disallowed Quebec's attempt at a question and said you have to do it more neutrally. These aren't very neutral questions. They're designed to get a yes, and they have hidden questions inside of them or hidden issues in them. But essentially,
what do you mean by that? Before we blow by that's a lot.
Yeah, well, so if you look at the questions, they're kind of complex. Do you support? Let's see, basically giving Alberta increased control for the purpose of prioritizing economic migration. Well, the federal government already prioritizes economic migration. It's just we're not too happy about the way they've done it lately. And so it's not just about giving more control. It's about what kind of people do we want to select? And we've heard other things out of the Premier's office that give us pause to wonder, what's the real agenda? So when her executive director comes out and says it on X, why import people from nations with failed systems when our Judeo-Christian heritage and principles have worked so well here? And so that makes you think there's more than an economic aspect here. There's a social engineering aspect. Apart from whether they can do that constitutionally, it's there's a question underneath there. There's issues underneath that question.
Yeah, that's a Bruce McAllister who runs the Premier's office. So who had tweeted that out. What are some of the legal issues that stand out for you in these questions?
There's likely to be constitutional challenges if they try to do anything. I mean, she recognizes that it's going to take constitutional amendments to do much of what she wants to do, and we all know constitutional amendments are virtually impossible. I just asked Brian Mulroney, but there will be fights about that. The federal government has something called paramountcy over immigration. That is, if they occupy the field, then their policies win out over any provincial policies. So she wants to reverse that, and good luck to her, but I think it's highly unlikely the government will give that up. Just like appointment of federal judges or cancellation of the Senate, I think they're going to have a hard time getting that one through constitutionally.
Can you explain the questions here and the implications around limiting access to services such as healthcare and education based on immigration status?
Yeah, it's a head scratcher because it's as if we're giving away something. But the fact is that the people who are coming here who are working in Alberta as foreign workers, for instance, they pay for healthcare the same way you and I do, which is through their taxes. They pay taxes. Now, the real problem is that Alberta has a serious revenue problem right now. We have chosen to be completely dependent on oil revenues, unlike other provinces that have a provincial sales tax and higher income taxes. And that's been touted as the Alberta advantage. Right now, that's the Alberta disadvantage because we've got nothing else to go to for revenue when oil prices drop as they have and as they're predicted to stay low for a while. So they were, blaming it on immigrants as driving up our costs, I think it's a bit disingenuous. The fact is we have a revenue problem, not so much as an expense problem.
We note the timing of this is a week ahead of the provincial budget, which we've been told to, expect massive deficits, but largely because of the price of a barrel of oil over the last number of months. Now, the assertion from the province around newcomers and temporary foreign workers, et cetera, is that immigration in many forms has put a real strain on the system. I mean, it does seem like if you look around, you do see evidence of that. Is that fair?
That is very fair. There's two parts to the problem. One is immigration. The Trudeau government thought it would be a great idea to bring in large numbers of both temporary and permanent residents, and that would somehow really stimulate the economy and increase our gross domestic product. But what they failed to foresee is that we didn't have the infrastructure, and it was going to cost us a lot to build that infrastructure. Remember that we also took in 275,000 Ukrainians, gave them all work permits, and said they could live anywhere in Canada. And a lot of them have come to Alberta. But so you've got that happening. And the other thing that's happened is that Alberta, their policy was, our policy was, we wanted to double our population. This government said they wanted to double our population to 10 million. And they went out across Canada and they purchased billboards and spent money on advertising saying, move to Alberta, the Alberta advantage. We have lower taxes, no sales tax. We've got jobs, we've got lower cost housing. And guess what? People did listen to that and they came here in tens of thousands. And so that has also contributed to the problem. So now they're doing an about face, which seems to be sending a message out, don't come here.
Well, okay. So if they're saying don't come here in different ways, do you expect that it'll work, that it'll keep people from choosing Alberta?
For sure, there'd be a problem if they tell foreign workers and foreign students that they're not eligible for healthcare, and especially if it's healthcare, that's going to be the big social benefit that most people access. It's not welfare. Immigrants who go on welfare get kicked out. It's more likely to be healthcare, and they won't go to Alberta. And so our educational institutions are absolutely dependent on post-secondary students because the government has, and not just in our province, but across Canada, provincial governments have underfunded universities and colleges because they know they can charge foreign students double and even triple. And that's what they're doing. So if you make it unattractive, our institutions are going to have a problem, but also foreign workers aren't going to want to come here. They just learned that when they tried to cancel healthcare for people who are coming on working holiday visas. They had to walk it back because, of course, I'm sure they heard from the hospitality industry and especially the Rockies, we're going to be in serious trouble if you do this because we won't be able to attract the workers we need.
So, I mean, I know this is early moment in the life of this news that we're headed towards all these referendum questions related to the Constitution and to immigration. But what do you expect? How do you expect this affects the people your clients, the people you work with?
This has been happening throughout Europe, and of course you've seen it, especially in the United States, which is the demonizing of immigrants. And it's not comfortable for immigrants. I talk to immigrants all the time who live in the States and are not feeling safe, and they're not feeling comfortable, they're not feeling welcome. And I would hate for that to happen in Alberta or anywhere in Canada for that matter.
Yeah. Now, these are set to be referendum questions that Albertans will vote on in October. What do you think Albertans should keep in mind as they consider how they plan to vote and participate in public conversations about these questions?
I think it's important that there be some intelligent discussion about what would be some of the impacts of the policies that they're floating, and also the polarizing negative dialogue about immigrants. I think people have to be really careful with that, and it's divisive, and I would like to see the Premier take some leadership and make sure that doesn't get out of control. That the haters don't dominate the debate.